everybody, Elusive Table here, bringing you my initial impressions of the Heart of Thorns beta. It ended about 35 minutes ago, and here I am to bring you my thoughts, hopefully before anyone else does. So, let's get right into this. First of all, the Revenant. This is a class that feels clunky as all hell. You have your two legendaries they can swap between, both have their own unique ways of going about dealing damage and keeping yourself alive. I think I stayed in one legendary most the entire time, and if I swapped it was like an out of combat, like, oh, I need to see what this one's going to be doing for a while. I didn't feel like I should be swapping on the fly. I didn't know why I would swap on the fly. I suppose once I get more used to the abilities, it may make a bit more sense, but until then. The energy system for the Revenant, I don't like. It just feels too out of place in Guild Wars. We're so used to all the abilities having like cooldowns as their like limiting factor. And this one you could chop an ability 3 times in a row, and it felt weird. And it wasn't like a good weird. It didn't feel like, oh sweet, I just did that, man, that's cool. It was just like, oh, okay. And then I'd be out of energy and I wouldn't be able to do anything else for a while, and then it would regen and all that stuff. I don't know. I didn't like it. I wish they would actually just keep the cooldowns and try and innovate the class in a different way. The weapon skills, Hammer was my favorite. It's kind of like a Mesmer Greatsword where it's like a ranged weapon even though it looks like a melee weapon. It has some cool abilities. It's 3 skill where like you teleport somewhere, deal an area effect damage, and teleport back. I found it was very nice. It did some weird stuff in the camera, but that was whatever. The second ability felt powerful where you slam down the ground. Thing is, none of it felt like I was doing damage. I felt like I just run around. I just kind of have area of effect, like, oh, let me jump in this area and I do a couple hundred damage. And oh, let me slam this down and I do a couple hundred damage. And oh, let me do this, and I wasn't dealing massive numbers. It's not like playing a ranger in full berserker gear. And in the beta they gave us full celestial gear, so that may be the reason why. But it wasn't like a ranger, which was just like, oh, I'm hitting you for thousands of damage with my 2 ability. So yeah, nothing was dying fast, at least in my opinion. So next is the mastery system, which, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing on the Revenant. It did not feel intuitive. The whole energy system, I hadn't watched the videos in months. I hadn't really brushed myself up on it. So watching the energy bar, I had no idea what it was doing in the first few minutes of me playing. It took me about half an hour before I actually really understood like what abilities affected in what ways. So that's the Revenant for you. It definitely needs some design work. It needs more improvements and much more flexibility. I didn't look at the traits, but we had access to 3 weapons, I believe, and 2 legendaries. I think if they can give us, I want to say almost 3 more legendaries and quite a few more weapons, it could be a bit more interesting. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it's doing any damage, and I didn't like that. The whole focus on conditions, it felt a bit too focused on conditions. And I mean, kind of like a Necromancer where you can focus on conditions, or you can just go for like something completely different like a Minion Mancer or a Burst Necromancer. I think that would feel much better than what they currently have. We couldn't access the Elite Specialization, so I couldn't try out any of those. I was very sad that I couldn't try out my Chronomancer or my Reaper. Dragon Hunter can go fuck itself. Then what else? Mastery system. Alright, so masteries, goddamn, I was not impressed at all. Like, I know I'm going to be hating on it a lot, and that's probably what you get mostly out of this video. I'm going to complain a bit. But no, we get to this area, I finally got out of the story instance, and it was like, alright, you have unlocked a mastery point. So I go to the mastery pane, I'm like ready to spin my point, and it's okay, and I want to do it in gliding because I want to get that glider real quick, right? It's like, alright, so you can unlock you can checkbox gliding. I'm like, okay, and it changes my experience bar to have a gliding icon next to it. I'm like, alright, so how do I spend the point? And I couldn't until I filled up the experience bar, and then I could spend the point, and that is what would get me gliding. And to fill up the experience bar, it took 254,000 experience, which is what it takes at level 80 to get a skill point. When your experience bar fills up at level 80, you've gained that much experience. And it took quite a few dynamic events before I got it. It took me about an hour and 45 minutes before I had actually gotten gliding and could glide. And the entire time I was bored. I was wishing I could glide, because I think that would have made doing these dynamic events so much more fun. They really need to speed that up, because it's not going to hold people's interest. If, yeah, you can glide, it's just going to take you a while to get it. Instead of jumping in and having to grind to do the fun stuff, you could jump in, get the fun stuff, grind to make your fun stuff better. I mean, that's the way I do it. Jump in, make it so you can spin a mastery point, and bam, have gliding, and then take a bit to make it so you can use the clouds, and you can gust, and you can save in the air longer, and all that stuff. That was my opinion on masteries. I didn't get very far. Like I said, it took me an hour and 45 minutes just to get gliding. Once I got gliding, oh yeah, that was so fun. I mean, it just felt amazing to just jump off the edge of a cliff and glide around. Many times it resulted in my death, but that's fine. Then next, what was next? The zone itself, the Verdant Brink, I believe it's called. Beta's beta, so I'm not going to rag on this one too hard, but it felt directionless. We get there, it's daytime, it's like, alright, you need to do all this stuff, and you see like all these events going off different directions. And I followed this one group, and we go up a cliff, we're protecting these snipers, we go into the ruins, we take control of the ruins, we're helping this mortal person defend, like, he's blowing up vines, and then nighttime hits. And all of a sudden, everything changes. I'm now, like, all of a sudden there's these rally points. I have to go defend these rally points and escort people around them. And I didn't know why I was doing it. There was some sort of defenses system where, you could get supplies to upgrade the defenses, but I wasn't quite sure what upgrading the defenses would do, what it meant. So, I mean, I wasn't doing it. It's like, yeah, you can get supplies and go give them to Rally Point and make it more powerful, but I had no idea in which way it would make it more powerful, so I just didn't do it. And while there was, the zone itself did come across the feeling of everything's dangerous, there were many times where if I was running alone, I'd get, 4 or 5 mobs on me, and I'd kind of have, that oh shit moment before I ran away. It felt very fun to explore. Like I said, gliding around felt very good. It looked beautiful. And the lots of knockbacks and enemies. I will say the adventures, I didn't quite understand what they were at first. I think I did one on accident. I didn't really talk to the NPC that much, so I wasn't quite 100% sure of what I needed to do. You go into this little pit with a bunch of red circles around the ground. You have to dodge those. Run, get a item off the ground, and run back. I think that's what you had to do. I guess that's how I did it. So that was the thing. Really, the event. I think the big hindrance to this zone was that it's beta. I found this one area that looked like a giant gate that you could unlock, I guess, if you succeeded the meta event, that we just hadn't yet, and it was closed off for the beta, and so that's where the directionlessness came from. I could see this gate. I think there was something on the other side of the gate, but I had no way of unlocking the gate, and so everything else just kind of felt pointless because of it. No elite specs, unfortunately. No new trait system. We couldn't even go back into the old Tyria. It was strictly only part of Silver Wastes and the first half of the Verdant Brink. I still have high hopes for it. I'm not gonna damn it yet. I had plenty of good things. Like, I say a lot of bad things. Revenant didn't impress me, but I'm also not much of a melee or plate wearing player. I prefer my elementalist and my spellcasters. The mastery system, I think, needs to be toned down a bit in terms of experience. But in the end, I think the numbers are still fluctuating probably, so I'm not going to damn it too much yet. And the direction list, like I said, came from the fact that I don't think the zone was completely finished. That's my impressions. That's my first initial thoughts. Take them what you will. If you're in it, maybe you agree. Post in the comments if you do agree. If you weren't in it, whether you agree or not doesn't really matter. I have the entire 2-hour playthrough of me finding my way through this first initial beta test up on my channel. I'm going to be redoing that playthrough later as an elementalist and see if anything is different, see if it feels different in any way. Judge it based off of a different perspective. Until then, like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you want to leave feedback, leave it for ArenaNet on their forums. Don't leave it to me here because I sure as hell can't use it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.